Story recapped here. Today I'm going to explain a psychological thriller film called Would You Rather. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Iris is a young woman who struggles to find a job to care for her sick brother. At a job interview, she shares her experiences, but the interviewer does not sound interested in hiring her. Raleigh suffers from leukemia. He feels like a burden to his sister, but Iris always reminds her that he is not. He does all he can to help her, but because of his disease, his abilities are limited. Their budget is very tight, so Iris does all she can to make ends meet. She informs Raleigh that she will visit his oncologist, Dr. Barden, because according to him, he can help cut some of the costs for his treatment. Iris arrives at the clinic and helps an elderly woman on a wheelchair named Linda to enter the building as well. Dr. Barden welcomes her to his office where he introduces her to Shepard, his philanthropist friend. Iris takes a seat to discuss her brother's condition. Dr. Barden has already informed Shepard about Raleigh's needs. According to Shepard, his foundation can help improve his situation through financial means. The doctor adds that the Lambricks provide funds for building clinics and schools all over the world, especially in developing countries. Shepard gets up his seat to proceed to discuss his proposal in great detail. He says that his family believes in creating opportunities for people who have not received any luck in their life, like Iris and Raleigh. This sparks interest in the young woman because she desperately needs assistance with her bills. So she asks what she has to do to get the help they need. Shepard replies by saying that he will host a dinner party, and she simply has to join. She makes it clear if there are other people invited, to which he replies that people who are also in the same situation as her will come. Individuals that they want to help have to participate in a game of sorts. The winner will be taken care of from their bills, education, house, and basically everything. Iris asks what will happen if she does not win, but Shepard simply says you just don't win. Still confused about his generous offer, Iris asks Dr. Barden if it is legit. Shepard laughs at her remark. The doctor explains that Shepard saved his life. He was once invited to the dinner and won the contest. Iris says that she will need more time to think about it. Before she leaves, Shepard hands her an information card if she decides to RSVP. The deadline will be by 8 p.m. that day. He also adds that if she wins, he will pay for Raleigh's treatment and use his foundation's influence to shortlist a bone marrow donor for him. That night, she receives a call from the interviewer where she recently applied, but she got rejected. Because of this, she rummages through her hamper to look for the Lambrick Foundation business card and confirms that she will participate in the dinner party. The following day, she lets Raleigh know that she will have dinner with some of her high school friends and says that he will have to stay home alone for the night. She gets ready and puts on the best dress she owns. A luxurious car picks Iris up from her home just before the sun sets. During the ride, she recalls conversations with Raleigh, as a source of strength to get through the evening. She arrives at the manor, where Bevins, Shepard's butler and former MI5 agent, welcomes her. According to him, she is the 8th and final guest for the party. Iris is introduced to the other contestants: Lucas, Cal, Peter, a high-stakes gambler, Linda, a paralyzed elderly woman, Travis, a war veteran, Amy, and Conway, an alcoholic debtor. Meanwhile, Dr. Barden is at his home, looking at photographs and recalling his conversation with Shepard from the past day. Dr. Barden seems to be an accomplice of Shepard, but he dismisses the idea that Iris should join the contest. However, he hands the doctor an envelope of money to silence him. Shepard prepares himself for the evening while giving reminders to his son, Julian, to be on his best behavior for the night. Julian is stubborn, but his father tolerates his behavior. In the common room where the contestants gather, Bevins announces that all their possessions, such as phones and keys, must be left in that room during the game. He assures them that their belongings will be safe and secure. One by one, they hand their stuff to Bevins. After, he guides them through to the dining room. The table is prepared beautifully with elegant tablewares. Place cards are provided for their seating arrangement. The 8 contestants take their places in accordance with their assigned seats. Shepard and Julian make their entrance just in time. He welcomes everyone to the Lambrick house and introduces Julian. He orders Bevins to serve them the meal. A steak and foie gras dinner is served along with some red wine. Iris raises her hand to let the host know that she is a vegetarian. However, there are no available options in the kitchen to replace her meal. She has been a vegetarian for most of her life, so she declines to eat the steak. Shepard then offers her $10,000 to compromise her principles. Initially, Iris refuses, but after some convincing, she reluctantly accepts his offer and eats the steak. Shepard notices that Conway isn't drinking wine, so he offers him other alcoholic beverages. When Shepard realizes Conway is a recovering alcoholic, he offers him $10,000 to drink a glass of wine. Conway declines the offer because he has been sober for 16 years. Shepard does not give up on persuading Conway, so he offers him $50,000 in exchange for drinking a whole decanter of scotch. Conway fights his morals that he carefully built for almost 2 decades. Eventually, he accepts the offer and drinks the scotch. Shepard is clearly entertained by putting his guests in uncomfortable situations. After the meal, he makes an announcement regarding the game for the night. He introduces the famous childhood game called Would You Rather. He explains that in each round, each player will be given a choice between 2 things. Whichever they choose, they must act upon, or else they will face consequences. He adds that as the game continues with one dilemma after another, eliminating players as they continue, only one winner can succeed. Their time to make their decision is only limited to 15 seconds, or else, they will be eliminated. The game is basically decision-making in its rawest form to expose the players' characters. Shepard gives a last chance for anyone to leave the manor if they no longer wish to participate. However, everyone is still willing to be part of the game. They officially begin. Bevins wheels in an equipment covered in black cloth. He later reveals that it is an electric machine. All of them get confused and scared. Conway gets up because he knows that Shepard plans on hurting them. He attempts to leave, but Shepard tells him that the chance to flee has already been given. Conway tries to walk away, but Bevins shoots him immediately. They all scream as the incident takes them in a state of fear. The remaining contestants learn how serious and deadly the game is, and realize they can only win the game if they are the last surviving player. Participation is no longer voluntary. In order for them to not end up like Conway, they should follow the rules. The first round is played by having 2 players connected to the electric machine. One of them has to decide if they should electrocute themselves or the other person. Bevins places the headpiece on Cal and Amy. Shepard asks Cal if he would rather electrocute himself or Amy. The blue button is for him, while the red is for the latter. The timer starts, and Cal presses the blue button, which gives him an abrupt shock. Amy smirks as she is spared some pain. The headpiece is transferred to Linda while she cries in fear. Before Shepard asks the question, Amy presses the blue button to electrocute the poor lady. Linda falls unconscious for a split second, but they manage to revive her. It is now Linda's turn to choose as the other headpiece is worn on Peter. He tries to get up, but a gun is pointed at him right away. Linda decides to electrocute Peter. Meanwhile, Dr. Barton plans on stopping the evil ways of Shepard. He opens a drawer to get his gun, then drives to the manor in the middle of the night. Back in the dining room, it is now Travis's turn to choose between electrocuting himself or Lucas. Travis spares himself, leaving Lucas being hurt. Now that it is his turn, he assures Iris that he will take the shock instead of her, which he does accordingly. During the second time, he looks phased, and his head falls to the table. Now that it is time for Iris to choose between her and Cal, she selflessly presses the button that electrocutes her. Shepard gives them a moment to compose themselves while his team prepares for the second round. While all of them try to strategize and form a game plan, Julian re-enters the dining room to have a casual conversation. A menacing vibe radiates from him, and starts to disrespect everyone in the room. Travis gets up to tell him that he should keep quiet, but Julian tells him that opening his mouth was a big mistake. Julian is now up to something vile. The other servants bring rolls of plastic to cover the whole room. The players worry about the next round being worse. Dr. Barton arrives at the back portion of the manor where there are no lights. Knowing that everyone is busy attending the game, he climbs up the wall to make his way in. The second round begins. Each of them will get 30 seconds in order to make their decisions. He begins with Iris. Shepard asks if she would rather stab Cal in the thigh with an ice pick or strike Travis 3 times with a whip. Travis tells her that it is okay to strike him rather than stab someone. He removes his coat to receive the strikes voluntarily. Shepard reminds Iris that the strikes should be strong enough to hurt him, or else it won't count. On the first try, Iris strikes him gently, but Shepard refuses to count it valid. She does it again, which obviously hurts Travis, leaving 3 big wounds on his back. Lucas is given the options of stabbing Iris on the thigh or striking Travis thrice again. He chooses to do the same to Travis, who is still willing to be on the receiving end of the painful dare. Lucas strikes 3 times. These options are clearly orchestrated by Julian, who got into a heated argument with Travis earlier. Travis is now the one to choose. He either stabs Lucas on the thigh or receive 3 more lashes administered by Bevins. He refuses to stab anybody, so he receives 3 more lashes. At this point, it is clear that he needs serious medical attention as a lot of blood is lost from his system. Travis is badly injured, and Peter, knowing he won't survive another lashing, stabs Linda in the leg after apologizing to her. Unfortunately, he hits her femoral artery, so an uncontrollable amount of blood seeps from her. Peter tries to stop it by using a belt to apply pressure. It is Linda's turn to choose between whipping Travis or stabbing Amy. She takes a split second to think, then stabs Amy, who in return hits her face. Among the players, Amy is the odd one out. She does not feel sorry for the others who got hurt. Amy is then given the options to either whip Travis or choose any player to stab with the ice pick. After saying that the game is not about helping each other, but eliminating everyone, she chooses to stab Iris. As she approaches, Iris begs her not to do it. Out of nowhere, she asks Shepard if she could stab Iris anywhere. Iris panics as the host agrees to Amy's sadistic request. She stabs Iris on the right part of her torso, leaving her in great pain. After looking for ways to break into the manor, Dr. Barton finally finds a way in through the basement. He quietly descends from outside and walks forward. In the dining room, Peter informs everyone that Linda has not moved for a significant amount of time. Shepard puts the guilt on him because he was the one who stabbed her. Bevins checks for vital signs, then announces her death. They all get devastated after Bevins gets her out of the room. Cal then chooses to whip Travis enough to incapacitate him, making him eliminated from the game. While Shepard and Bevins talk about the next round, Lucas causes a distraction and everyone except Amy attempts to escape the room. Iris stabs one of the men with the ice pick. This bids her time to leave the room. Cal advances on Shepard to strike him, but gets shot in his failed attempt. After Shepard shoots and kills Cal, the others surrender. Iris runs to the basement while being chased by the servants. Julian finds her and attempts to force himself on her, but she stabs him with the ice pick. As she sees Dr. Barton, Bevins successfully kills him. She loses hope, and is forced to come back to the game and reunite with the remaining players. Shepard apologizes to her for his son's behavior that took place in the basement, and blames it on his lack of motherly care. The third round begins with each player having 30 seconds to choose between being submerged underwater in a barrel for 2 minutes, or an unknown task written on an envelope that is placed in front of them. Peter takes the first turn. He chooses the envelope, which requires him to light a firecracker in his hand. He does not seem too scared, but then finds out that it is a quarter stick. Bevins secures it to his hand using duct tape. He lights it fearfully. When it explodes, it causes a heart attack and he dies. Lucas also chooses the envelope over the barrel. The card shows a drawing of an eye. The option forces him to slit open his own eyeball with a blade. If he refuses to do so, Shepard will have him killed, so he does the dare and survives. Iris chooses the barrel. She will be submerged in it for 2 minutes as Bevins holds her head steadily. She dramatically thinks of her brother as a motivation to survive. She struggles excessively, but she makes it through. Lucas reveals that her unpicked card would have dared her to have all of her teeth extracted. She is partially relieved to get past this round. Amy then chooses her card and learns that she must be submerged underwater for 4 minutes. She has a fear of being underwater, but she has no choice but to obey. Bevins did not give her enough time to be ready, so she drowns, while the others painfully watch. Amy eventually stops moving, and Bevins lays her down. With only Iris and Lucas in the final round, Shepard makes them sit facing each other. After flipping a coin to know who gets to choose first, Iris is given the choice to either shoot and kill Lucas to win the game, or spare him, which would result in both walking away empty-handed. After some hesitation, Iris gathers the courage to shoot Lucas in the chest, killing him. The men in the room applaud as Iris covers her ears. Shepard announces her as the champion. He gives her a bag full of money, which is more than enough to pay for her brother's treatment, and pay off all her debt as well. He explains that a donor has already been found for her brother in Romania. When Iris arrives home, she cleans herself and takes a moment to let everything sink in. She then discovers that Raleigh has taken his own life by drinking an excessive amount of medication while she was out. He could not handle the fact that he is a burden any longer. The sight of her lifeless brother devastates her. She starts crying after realizing that there was no point in participating in Shepard's game. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.